for having us here today. I'm Chuck Zisk, the Director of Public Works, Property and Parks, and this is AJ Antolik. AJ is the Assistant Director.
Hello, everyone.
We'd like to start with a brief introduction. I think this is the first council's budget session for some members. Some of you have been here for quite a while and are familiar with the process. So, a brief introduction of Public Works. The Department of Public Works has 222 full-time employees. Throughout any calendar year, that number of total employees could rise as high as over 300, depending on part-time workers. In 2022, the Public Works overall budget including enterprise funds, was $52,437,000. In 2023, the projected Public Works overall budget is $55,727,000. Public Works oversees engineering, streets, parks, building maintenance, the municipal garage, special events, Erie's wastewater treatment plant, sewer collection division, refuse, recycling, sustainability, golf, and the newly formed stormwater fund. Public Works affects all citizens of Erie's lives on a daily basis, whether it's driving your car, enjoying a park, recycling plastics, using the restroom, or crossing the street. Most public works often occurs behind the scenes. There are times when our efforts are on full display, whether it be rehabbing a stormwater pipe rehabilitation or plowing winter maintenance. Whatever the task, Public Works aims to complete the necessary work in the highest quality manner. The department prides itself on finding efficiencies, both operationally and cost-wise. The cost increases allocated to this budget within Public Works are directly related to market conditions and economic factors that are not within the department's scope of control. These include utility costs for gas, power, heat, and lighting, along with increases in operating supplies. I'd like to thank you for having us here tonight, and we look forward to reviewing the 2023 budget, discussing some 2022 highlights, and looking towards the future. If there are any questions throughout this presentation, please let us know. The first office we're going to be reviewing is Budget Code 0701, page 47, Office of the Director. The Director of Public Works Office oversees the Public Works operations, property, projects, and parks. In 2021, City Hall reopened to the public with enhanced security measures and protocols that are specifically designed to protect visitors, employees, and elected officials. In 2022, Public Works has continued to build out the security footprint of City Hall to enhance safety, while also providing safety enhancements for the downtown corridor. Specifically, the 2022 Perry Square Camera Project has enabled the Erie Police Department to provide surveillance downtown and analytics for events, all of which should enhance safety for residents and the ever-expanding business community. Excuse me. In 2022, Public Works has applied for over $10 million worth of grants, including Penvest, DEP, LSA, CFA, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and the STAMP Early Intervention Program. The intent of all the grant submittals is to obtain beneficial funding that would enhance the City of Erie services and leverage current ARP or match funding that the city is using to complete projects. Additionally, Public Works is coordinating the City of Erie's efforts and analysis of the Miller Brothers property as a potential acquisition site. Throughout Public Works, continuous improvements and efficiency efforts are sought, whether this be through community recycling or enhancement projects, state-funded programs, or technology improvements. Public Works' objective is to continue to advance and move forward. The total budget in the Director's Office is up slightly by $2,000 in the 2023 budget. Moving on to the Bureau of Engineering on page 48. Some of the highlights for the Bureau of Engineering 2022 led the implementation of the stormwater fee and credit policy. This ordinance was passed by City Council, thank you, on October 19th of 2022. Commonwealth Financing Authority Watershed Restoration Protection Program, $400,000 awarded. These are for 2 stream bank restorations, $200,000 for Cemetery Run, and $200,000 for Garrison Run restoration. We filed DEP Growing Greener grants, 3 applications for projects of $300,000 each. The award notifications are coming up shortly. Last week, on November 2nd, we submitted Penvest applications for various stormwater projects. Garrison Run Shotcrete Relining Rehab, Garrison Run Headwall Repair, and McDaniel Run Shotcrete Lining Rehabilitation. These projects are all currently funded 100% under the ARP funding that you approved. We're looking to leverage this with the funding offer from Penvest, and we're very hopeful that the funding offer will have a very heavy grant component, which will allow us to leverage this money.
Chuck, just so that would be additional funding, not like
That would be
offsetting the ARP funding. It's not going to be. We don't need the ARP because we're going to get this. This is additional.
Yes, this would be in addition to ARP, and hopefully reduce the amount of ARP funding that we have to spend on these projects.
Okay. And when do you learn about that? Is
January 18th.
February?
January.
January. Okay.
January 18th. So you'll hear about it on the 19th. Hopefully some good news. Number 5, we're also monitoring the Marsh Street garage. As everyone here is aware, that the upstairs portion of that building that's currently used by the Erie Fire Department for their mechanical division is structurally unstable. So part of that floor has been taped off. We're monitoring with crack monitors while we evaluate a secondary location for them to do that work. Cochran Avenue Bridge, that project is moving along. We signed an agreement with Trans Systems for preliminary engineering, final design, and construction services. That project's going to be, physical construction of the bridge looks like it's going to be in early 2024. We were hoping to be able to do it late in 2023, but the design's going a little bit slower than anticipated. We just completed several weeks ago the West 8th Street multimodal project, a $3.4 million project for streetscapes on West 8th Street. There's a before and after picture to show some of the transformation on West 8th Street.
It rides really nice.
It rides very nice.
Yeah, yes, I love driving on that road now.
We completed the Garrison Run Shotcrete lining, 768 linear feet of the 72-inch storm sewer. If you take a look at page 4, but maybe it's not on page 4. Somewhere in this packet, there'll be a picture of the before and after of that project.
On page 10.
Of the packet?
Yep.
If you go to page, thank you. So the picture, page 10, depicts, the picture on the left is part of the Garrison Run that went under the Soldiers and Sailors Home, the before and after. And that sewer was put in circa 1913, 1915. And you can see the finished photo on the right. That project's complete, and that was an ARP-funded project. We continue to coordinate with the Port Authority on the West Front Street Extension project. The Sassafras Street Extension, that's a private service road that runs next to the Water Authority building off of the Bayfront Parkway. Once those projects are complete, the city's going to take ownership of those roads. They're currently owned by the Port Authority. Number 12, the department just recently finalized the Myrtle Street relining project for the storm sewer. That's a twin 36-inch storm sewer that runs from 5th and Myrtle to 2nd and Myrtle. That was a priority that we identified early in the ARP project. We oversaw $2.6 million from contracted paving. We installed pickleball courts at Baldwin Park. We started our Rackby downtown. If you look outside, the first part of that phase is the electrical upgrades in East and West Perry Square. And that started about 3 weeks ago. That's going to be followed by solar soil pods for stormwater. The central fire station roof restoration, that's been completed by Farrell Roofing, and the solar panel installation is supposed to be completed tomorrow, weather depending, and we're hoping to be online with that within the next several weeks. The Division of Traffic Engineering was also busy. They worked with PennDOT on the design and installation of 23 intersections for the West 12th Street signal project, worked on the French and Green Garden Bikeway design project, East 10th and Holland signal upgrade, APS push buttons on North Park Row and State Street, new wiring and harnesses and cabinets at 11th and Holland Street, and we completely upgraded the lighting fixtures in Griswold Park and Perry Square, so they're all high efficiency LED. So the total engineering projects that went through the department in 2022 accounted for $14,427,000. Very, very proud of the work that the employees in the engineering department do every day to get that type of work pushed through that office. I won't go through all 31 of the anticipated projects for the Bureau of Engineering in 2023. That's why we sent this out early. We're continuing on the Cockwood Bridge replacement project. Started design for the Bayfront and Cranberry traffic signal. We will be presenting 2 ordinances to City Council in December. One is for street obstructions and right-of-way closures, and the second one is going to address disabled parking spaces. Number 26, as I just mentioned, we started the RACB Downtown Streetscape Revitalization Project. I think we have that down to 3 phases. Originally, it was going to be a 4 or 5 phase project. We're going to try to do that in 3. Page 713, the Bureau of Streets. In 2022, Public Works, we recently received $399,000 for winter maintenance through the newly negotiated agreement with PennDOT, our winter maintenance agreement. The new winter maintenance agreement is a significant increase in revenue and result in an additional $1.9 million of revenue over the next 10 years. This reimbursement scale will escalate over the life of the 10-year contract. In 2022, the City of Erie paving program is expected to be in excess of $8 million. This includes $2.4 million worth of bond expenditure, $3.7 million for the West 8th Street project, CDBG money, liquid fuels, and federal aid routes. In-house, the Bureau of Streets also conducted over $800,000 of in-house paving. In 2023, the City of Erie Bureau of Streets will conduct road paving through the liquid fuels, CDBG funding, but the overall scope will be less due to the fact that we no longer have bond money to rely on street paving. That money was all expended in the 2022 year. The Bureau of Fleet and Maintenance on page 53. Again, in 2022, the municipal garage is projected to again contribute over $1 million to the general fund. This revenue is generated by the Bureau through intergovernmental maintenance agreements with various government entities, authorities, the County of Erie, and the City of Erie's Bureau of Sewers, Refuse, and Golf. In 2021, Public Works increased labor rates to $80 an hour for car and light truck and $90 for heavy truck. This rate adjustment was enacted to match market demands and reflected of internal costs. In 2021, the municipal garage contributed $1.15 million to the general fund. Each year, the garage conducts labor studies to ensure the rates charged are in line with the general industry. In 2022, the City of Erie was impacted directly by the increasing costs of fuel and vehicle maintenance. The average cost of fuel in 2021 was $2.11 for unleaded and $2.25 for diesel. In 2022, these costs increased to $3.08 for unleaded and $3.86 for diesel. The City of Erie is part of the Council of Governments fuel contract, which enabled the city to experience a lower cost of fuel than a typical consumer pays at the pump. However, the costs associated by the market have resulted in the need to increase the fuel budget in the Bureau of Fleet and Maintenance from $740,000 to $875,000, which is slightly more than an 18% increase in fuel. Fleet and Maintenance also continues to upgrade fleet tracking and GPS monitoring. These programs increase efficiencies and decrease operational costs throughout the city's fleet. In 2023, the Department of Public Works will continue to study the feasibility of alternative fueling options, including electric and compressed natural gas. The department expects to work with the DEP on a potential electronic vehicle program that is still in the developmental stages.
With the Council of Government fuel contract, do you guys, is that, so everything's bid on your behalf? There's no, because I know I'd asked you about biodiesel and diesel ratios before. So do they do all of that part of it for you guys?
Yes, they take the combined rates, the combined usage of all the governments that are part of the COG, and they utilize that, and they leverage the amount of the fueling, the gallons that all the municipalities or governmental entities use. Then they use that to go out to bid. So then all the different categories of diesel, off-road diesel, unleaded gasoline, that all goes out to bid, and then that's what the price we're subject to.
And I think that contract is going to be up for bid in 2023.
Yes. Okay.
The COG gasoline pricing. Budget 723, building maintenance. Building maintenance budget increased slightly due to increasing repair and maintenance costs, as well as increasing utility costs. In 2022, Public Works conducted a thorough analysis of the City of Erie's fire stations. Building maintenance continues to be the lead coordinator of the maintenance throughout the city and the city's 26 owned properties. In 2023, building maintenance will work with the Bureau of Engineering to manage capital improvement for the city properties and work through projects as funding allows. The Bureau of Parks on page 725. Public Works continually works to activate and enhance all parks and green spaces throughout the city of Erie. In 2022, the city of Erie conducted surveys to communicate directly with the residents on parks, wants, and needs. This participatory budgeting process, which I'm just saying PB process, is being completed as part of the ARP funding dedicated to parks and the development of a parks master plan. The Bureau of Parks and their 7 full-time employees are responsible for maintaining all of the city Erie parks. Some highlights from 2022, we continue maintenance of the city's 45 parks and green spaces. We upgraded and replaced playground equipment at Lighthouse Park, Roger Young Park, and Holland Street Park. We coordinated the East Avenue Serve Erie project to beautify the neighborhood. We installed fencing upgrades at Pulaski Park, Roger Young, and Lighthouse Park. We began the installation of 6 regulation-sized pickleball courts at Baldwin, built additional picnic pavilions at McClellan and Glenwood Park. The picture to the right is the picture of the pavilion we just installed at Glenwood Park. We provided opportunities for residents by establishing baseball agreements with organizations that require open play and free access to all the city parks. Worked with Erie Arts and Culture to continue to display development of public artwork, including 11th and Parade, which is shown on the right. That is actually a building owned by the City of Erie that houses the City of Erie's traffic electricians. And at Gridley Park. The highlight of 2022 for the parks was the summer recreational program. It saw record participation for the youth throughout the City of Erie. The summer recreation program included basketball, tennis, theater, swimming, education, and park recreation opportunities for Erie youth throughout the city. In 2022, over 130 children, a record, participated in the Footlights Theater program that conducted theatrical performances of Matilda and James the Giant Peach. 2022 was also the 32nd year of Spoon's Summer Basketball League for boys and girls. Both Bayview Park and Spoon's Courts host games, along with the Biddy Basketball Camp at Eagle's Nest. Also,
I haven't heard of that before. What is that?
Biddy Ball?
Just gives the spoons.
Spoon League, what is it? You have a fork league too?
Yeah.
Fork league?
Also new to the summer recreation program was Nature in Your Neighborhood. The City of Erie partnered with Asbury Woods to bring nature and science-based activities to Wayne Park, Perry Square, Gridley Park, Bayview Park, and the Erie Housing Authority. Lastly, this year saw an increase in the YMCA's Kids Club program by a 21% increase. 412 youths and their families were provided 3,576 meals throughout the summer as part of the city's sponsored program. Kids were provided with opportunities to complete recreational activities and participate in YMCA-related programming. Additionally, in 2022, the Learn Swim program saw a dramatic increase in utilization. 254 individual children were signed up for the program. 340 swimming lessons were provided in 2022. Now, to put this in perspective, in 2021, a total of 44 children were signed up for the Learn to Swim program, and only 59 swim lessons were conducted. Comparing these totals to 2021, there was an increase of 210 children using the program and an increase of 281 in total lessons. Roger Young Pool was added as a swim lesson location this summer, and so was Downtown Y. We really attribute the changing of the locations for the increase in participation.
It's
So we're
easier for them to get to it.
Yes.
very, very, very happy with the participation in our summer rec program this year.
I mean, I applaud the fact that we were able to successfully teach 254 individual kids how to swim. We're so close to the lake, and I feel like we have so many drownings because we don't have water safety training. So I like that number going up, and hopefully in the future it'll go up again.
What was very nice to see this year at the Roger Young Park is generally if you were over the age of 16, you're not allowed into the pool. The YMCA changed the rules for the Learn to Swim program, so the families could take their children in, watch them take their lessons, and also were given an opportunity for a free lunch at the end of the program. So we're really very happy to see that. It's also important to mention that special event permitting and fees have exceeded $100,000 for the first time. This funding and cost structure are continually evaluated to ensure the City of Erie is being compensated for its efforts. Special events continues to be a dynamic and the needs change. This year, Public Works and Public Safety work cross-departmentally ensure the proper road closures. Based on what's been happening around the country and around the world, we now require the use of water walls whenever we close an event where people are going to be in the street. We no longer allow just the use of cones or barrels, and we charge an appropriate fee for that. The Bureau of Parks budget slightly increased in 2023. Shade tree on budget 727 on page 58, and sustainability. As part of the shade tree program, Public Works focuses on planting new trees and removing hazardous limbs and trees to protect citizens and property. To further discussion on tree removal, $600,000 of ARP funding was designated towards the removal of dead or hazardous trees in the 17 qualified census tract areas. Over $100,000 of this funding has been awarded, and those projects will help improve lighting, safety, and access in the quality census tracts. Sustainability. Currently, Public Works is administering and managing almost $2.5 million worth of grants that can be attributed to the continuous sustainability improvement efforts. This year, Public Works conducted a recycling audit with the help of Councilman Nelson, coordinated a special collection in partnership with Penn State Barron, and continues to seek grant funding to help improve Erie's environment and the City of Erie's carbon footprint. Also, while discussing lighting and sustainability, in 2022, Public Works embarked on a solar panel project at the Central Fire Station. This project was funded by multiple sources: Green Mountain Energy, the PA Department of Environmental Protection, and Penelec. This will be the first solar-powered fire station in the state of Pennsylvania and only one of 5 nationally. It's a very, very big achievement. The Stormwater Fund, newly created Stormwater Fund on page 67, Fund number 777. As council is aware, the Stormwater Fund is newly enacted utility as part of the 2023 budget. Public Works and City Council have discussed the fund and its intent throughout multiple study sessions over the past 3 years before we were able to get it approved. We wanted to highlight some of the various aspects of the fund. Personnel expenses for an engineer and a field supervisor are included in the budget, along with the related employee expenses for a total of $215,000. The Stormwater Fund will include operating and consumable expenses such as lab kits, liquid dye, monitors, chemical sensors, and tools. Education will include public outreach and communication, which is a required component of the city's MS4 permit. The largest account within the stormwater budget is 4077. Public Works views this account in 2 separate segments. Number 1, repair and maintenance, roughly $500,000 within this portion: stream bank restoration, outfall rebuilding, inlet conversions, spot repairs, foam and spray relinings, and basin installations. The remainder, roughly $700,000 within this portion. This fund will be able to establish needed reserves to complete total rehabilitation or relining of major portions of the stormwater system. Building a reserve is essential to be able to complete large sections of repair and to positively affect the system for as many users as possible. If there is a direct and immediate need, the funds can be allocated to an entire project. Having this flexibility will enable the City of Erie to make the greatest impact. Studies have shown that emergency work typically costs 3 times as much as a scheduled repair does. Again, I referenced the picture here underneath. This is underneath the Soldiers and Sailors home. This is before and after a shotcrete relining, and this is a concrete relining. While you leave the existing pipe in place, you reline it with concrete. You actually pick up pipe capacity because the concrete's much smoother than the tile. Account 4078 in the Stormwater Fund, machinery or equipment, will be utilized to purchase needed equipment and technology services. Technology will include GIS mapping, line locations, and recording devices. Throughout 2022, Public Works has been diligently working to leverage the ARP funding that was allocated for stormwater projects. In October, the City of Erie was awarded $400,000 from the Commonwealth Financing Authority for stream bank restorations located on Cemetery Run and Garrison Run. This funding is important because it effectively leverages ARP funding, but it will also be allocated to projects that were designed to meet the City of Erie's sediment reduction as part of this MS4 pollution reduction plan. This plan has received preliminary approval from the DEP. So for the past 7 years, we have not had an approved plan by the DEP for pollution reduction.
Where is Cemetery Run? Is that the Soldiers and Sailors home? I know.
Cemetery Run daylights at Cranch, East 6 and Cranch,
Okay.
and it runs north to the lake.
Okay. Are some of these ever going to, like, the restoration, will that mean that they'll be accessible for
Cemetery runs,
recreation, or?
yeah, Cemetery Run's a pretty small stream,
Okay.
but part of our PRP requirement, which is our pollution reduction plan, we're required to reduce sediment by 10% that goes into Lake Erie and Presque Isle Bay.
Okay.
The Bureau of Sewers, page 69. I invited Mr. Basil Ronzetti tonight. He's the bureau chief at the wastewater treatment plant if there's any specific questions that you have about the operation or some of the costs that we're going to talk to about going up. The City of Erie's wastewater treatment plant services the residents of the City of Erie and 7 outlying tributary communities. Every day, the wastewater treatment plant services 200,000 plus customers and processes approximately 40 million gallons of water a day. Over the past 3 years, the Bureau of Sewers has navigated through a pandemic and economic effects of post and ongoing pandemic world. Throughout this time, the facility has continued offering uninterrupted, full-scale service and dealt with costly force majeures related to production shortfalls throughout the industry. There are 5 core cost drivers that are currently affecting the wastewater treatment plant operation. Chlorine. Since 2013, chlorine costs have increased consistently. From 2021 to 2022 alone, pricing has gone from roughly $500 per ton to almost $2,000 a ton, $1,988. This is a 290% increase in less than 1 year, and we expect the increases to continue based on the availability of the manufacturing. Polymer. Since 2013, polymer costs have increased by 70%. Tipping fees. In 2022, tipping fees will increase from $42 per ton to $46 a ton. Fees are scheduled to continually escalate over the next 3 years. Ferric chloride. Since 2013, ferric costs have increased by 228%. Utility costs. Gas, water, electric, all have continued to rise. Water alone has increased 25% over the past 5 years. Electric costs have actually doubled. The pricing went from slightly over 3 cents per kilowatt hour to 6 cents per kilowatt hour. All of these are out of our control. We cannot manage the price of utilities or chemicals. It's important to mention that the wastewater treatment plant is lean and it contains no wants or special asks. The process of treating waste hasn't changed. The costs associated with treating waste have increased. Unfortunately, these costs are beyond our scope of control, and we are forced to proactively attempt to deal with them while maintaining our compliance. The increase within this budget for services are necessary in order to continue compliance efforts and treatment. Delaying fee increases causes fees to have to increase exponentially more over time and delays necessary improvements funding for this facility. In 2022, the wastewater treatment plant has applied for over $2 million worth of PennVest funding for a chlorination project, managing multi-million-dollar capital improvement projects funded through the Sewer Authority, and they continue to manage the incinerator rehabilitation project that is being funded by $750,000 of revenue replacement that this council approved earlier this year. And that will continue.
And will be reimbursed
Yes.
by the tributaries.
And that project is still underway. So thank you for that. Sewer collection, that's a division in the wastewater treatment plant. The budget remains static. The main objective of collection is to continue to provide general maintenance to the system, repair catch basins, manholes, televising and inspecting storm and sanitary lines, looking for obstructions. Please note that the work and service provided by the Bureau of Sewers is not glamorous and it's not shiny. It's work that is essential and is needed. The team within the wastewater treatment plant takes great pride working daily, day and night, to maintain compliance efforts, manage the plant, work within the existing parameters, and produce high-quality work. The proposed fee increase will facilitate operations of the plant, allow for the increasing costs to be accounted for, and maintain the current path of functionality.
Chuck, can you just reiterate what the proposed fee increase is, just for people who are watching, and just so council can we make sure we know what that number is or percentage? Or we can do it later, Lisa, if you want, but just so. Okay.
It's on the, do you want to just continue?
We can continue,
Okay.
yeah, but just so we can come back to it and let the public know.
Okay, and then also the proposed fee and refuse. Okay. Next is going to be the Bureau of Refuse and Recycling. That's on page 76, fund number 731. The year 2022 continued to present challenges for the Bureau of Refuse and Recycling. Coming off the challenges that were faced during 2020 and 2021, the Bureau continues to experience labor shortages, increased repair and maintenance costs, and continues to deal with an aging fleet. In 2021, Public Works increased the part-time labor rate in the Bureau of Refuse. An increase from $10 to $15 was made in an attempt to continue to remain competitive in the labor market. Labor shortages were not localized. It has been a national trend. The increase in part-time wages has become standard, and the increase must be allocated for within the budget. Staffing remains to be a challenge, especially for drivers, as CDL requirements and job demands have increased across the trucking industry. We are currently in the process of becoming a certified trainer, a CDL trainer, so we have the ability to train our part-time employees and allow them to get CDL licenses. So we'll keep you up to date on that process as it unfolds. Repair and maintenance. The Bureau of Refuse also continues to experience increasing repair and maintenance costs, typically trending around $300,000 to $330,000 annually. These costs have now accelerated past for the $400,000 level. In 2020, the average annual cost of maintenance on a garbage truck was $20,950, and we have 17 or 18 trucks in our fleet. In 2021, the average cost increased to $25,000. In 2022, they've decreased slightly to approximately $23,250 per truck. The average age of the City of Erie garbage truck is 10 years old. The fleet suffered catastrophic loss from a fire in 2021. 3 trucks were totaled and taken out of service. The City of Erie was able to locate 2 replacement trucks out of Canada. A new truck was ordered in 2022, and I believe that truck was paid for out of the Capital Improvement Fund. So when we have an enterprise fund, and the enterprise fund should be self-sustaining, they should have money in that fund generated from the fees that they receive to be able to purchase that vehicle. In order to keep decreasing annual maintenance, investment needs to continue in the fleet. Newer trucks cost less to maintain, which will allow the fund to invest in other areas. Our compost facility, which is also part of the refuse. In 2022, the City of Erie was able to combine 2 902 PA DEP grant awards into one total award. This enabled the City of Erie to purchase a new composting grinder referred to as the Beast. The current grinder, commonly referred to as a Beast, is a 2007 model and will be used for backup equipment for redundancy in the operation. The remaining funding from the 902 grants will be used to purchase recycling bins for City of Erie residents and distributed at recycling events. Tipping fees. Tipping fees have consistently rose over the past few calendar years. This year, recycling fees were bid. In 2021, the City of Erie is paying $125 per ton for recycling. In March of 2022, when the new fees are enacted, recycling tipping fees are going to increase to $131 a ton. For a reference point, in 2019, recycling tipping fees were $40 per ton. Just since 2019, recycling tipping fees have increased by 228%. Garbage tipping fees have remained relatively steady and are at the $55.90 per ton. And this rate is locked in for 2 more years until March of 2024. Another obstacle we have, fuel. The Bureau of Refuse uses roughly 65 to 70,000 gallons of fuel each year. A refuse truck goes anywhere from 1.5 miles to the gallon to 3 miles per gallon, depending on the route and the season. In 2021, fuel prices have surged. Since 2021, fuel prices have surged. In 2022, the city of Erie is paying on average $3.08 for a gallon of leaded and $3.86 for a gallon of diesel. In 2021, the city of Erie was paying $2.37 for a gallon of leaded and $2.65 for a gallon of diesel. Comparatively, in 2020, a gallon of unleaded fuel was as low as 40 cents, and a gallon of diesel had dropped to $1.03 per gallon. In 2023, refuse is projected to spend approximately $250,000 on fuel, a cost that has more than doubled since 2020. Highlights of the refuse operation. During 2022, the Bureau of Refuse continued to utilize route optimization in its fleet. Route optimization has been used for the large item pickup. This technology improvement has increased efficiency and saved costs. Another highlight, over 700 vehicles utilize the May Electronics and Tire Recycling event. Recycling events allow citizens and outlets to properly dispose of items and help lessen the detrimental effects of illegal dumping on City of Erie property and parks. In 2023, the City of Erie is planning on furthering the development of its compost program. The business model is going to be redefined, and scope of sale is going to increase and generate additional revenue. Through the city's partnership with Erie Management Group's Prism Recycling, drop-off locations at city parks have collected 55 tons of glass that would have been thrown away as trash. For reference, in 2021, 30 tons of glass was collected. That's an 83% increase in the amount of glass collected through the drop-off glass program. A rate increase in the Bureau of Refuse is necessary to maintain current operations and to continue to offer the services that ratepayers receive. Without an increase, services will have to be cut and the operations business model will have to be evaluated. Uh, 728, golf. The golf fund continues to have revenues increase. In 2023, the projected revenues are $639,367. October 2022 year-to-date revenue was $576,561. In 2021, revenues were $589,778. Golf remains open for one additional week at Downing, and it just closed for the season at J.C. Martin. We have been able to continue to run a lean operation, shifted maintenance of all the golf equipment to the municipal garage, and invest in the course to maintain courses that are respected through the Erie region. In 2023, Public Works plans to continue to invest in our courses. Green rehabilitation and clubhouse modifications are scheduled to occur. Public Works will continue to evaluate the golf program and make changes as necessary to grow revenue and improve. Liquid Fuels Fund, Fund number 13 on page 81. Liquid Fuels Fund is generated from money the state of PA receives from the gas tax. There's a slight in the PA operating grant funding in 2023. In 2022, the city received $2.621 million, and in 2023, the city will receive $2.612 million in liquid fuels funding. The main cost function of the Liquid Fuels Fund are the expenses related to street lights, traffic signals, and crosswalk signs.
Why has it gone down every 4 years, or for 4 years straight?
It depends on the amount of miles people drive. 50% of the liquid fuels money, or over $1.3 million annually, go towards paying for streetlights and traffic signals. Liquid fuels funding is also utilized to purchase equipment for public works. These purchases enable the limited capital funding to be utilized by other bureaus and departments for their needs. We'd like to highlight that in 2022, the City of Erie expects to generate over $125,000 in miscellaneous revenue from the sale of salt and millings. These monies are also deposited into the liquid fuels account. This will surpass the budgeting revenue that was anticipated in 2022. In closing, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present Public Works portion of the 2023 budget. If there are any questions or comments, AJ and I would be happy to discuss, and I'll let AJ do some talking.
Chuck or AJ, I wondered, how are we doing on garbage delinquencies? And when was the last time we made public a list of who owes how much for delinquencies?
That would be a finance question.
Finance? Okay.
And, I don't think we prepared that schedule for this year.
Okay, but we do it every year, and then we make it available to...
Normally, yes, we do.
Okay, and so we can find the 2022, the current ones, or the 2021 would be the one that would be most up to date to find out how much is owed on delinquencies. And I mean, I just Googled and I could only find like the 2016 list, but I thought that there was a more up-to-date one.
Yeah, we can get an up-to-date list.
Okay.
We just haven't, we didn't put it in our council book this.
Okay.
I think that delinquencies are down based on the fact that council changed the ordinance.
Right.
And you can turn someone's water off if they're
Okay.
delinquent on their refuse bill.
A report was just posted on November 2nd on the city's website.
It's posted?
Garbage and sewer, yes.
Oh, thank you. Okay. And then I know that you changed the big item pickup a few years ago because, you know, it used to be, remember, the big spring cleanup and then it became 4 weeks. Are you happy with the big item pickup operation? Is it
Yeah, I'd like to talk to-
taxing you or
was-
taxing in the sense of, you know,
It was
creating a hassle for
It
you?
used to be the big fiasco. It was a 4 or 6 week program that we had to allocate all of our resources to, especially in the springtime when we should be focusing on cleaning the streets and patching potholes and doing some other things. It also gives residents an opportunity throughout the year to get rid of up to 3 items. So we're very happy with the success of that program.
Okay.
It's much less taxing on our equipment as well when you have large items consistently as piles as they were. It's obviously very taxing on our equipment. This is much more sustainable.
And maybe even the people, so that they aren't just doing it all at once or something, I don't know. And then this is sort of a Chuck and a Chuck question, and an AJ question. On the glass recycling, we're gonna get that information on glass and composting at our December morning meeting from Penn State. But did you get any, have you had any hint of what that's going to say?
I have not either.
Okay.
We're working with Dr. Sam Sherry Mason on several projects. She's also doing a study of our street sweepings to see how much plastics and how much organic versus inorganic material that we collect to get sent to the landfill.
Okay. And I just wondered, I remember I heard, what's her name, Laura from Management Group, talk about, you know, this is great that they're doing the glass, but that they might have to charge at some point for that. Has there been discussion about that they don't just continue to do this as a goodwill gesture?
We're actually renegotiating the contract.
Okay.
And we did agree to pay a portion of the tipping fee, not the tipping fees, but the delivery cost.
Okay.
Do you want to go over the price increases before we start going to all the questions?
Sure, yes, that would be good, Lisa, thank you.
All right, pages 90, and 91 in your council book, the 5 years projections for the sewer and the refuse. We'll have your quarterly rates, third line from the bottom. So on page 90, the price for the sewer service will go up from $76 a quarter to $85.96. That's $9.96 a quarter, and that's a 12% increase.
Over the last 3 years, how much is it?
Over the last 3 years, we have not gone up since 2019, Chuck? 2019. So, and I don't know if you were here when PFM did their report, but they had suggested that we go up by small increments every year to avoid a 12% increase like this. And I would echo that. If we go up like the water authority, Tori, like the water authority goes up by small increments each year. We have a chart up here. Sorry, I didn't bring copies with me, but that. Pardon me? Oh, it is in the council book. What page? 46. Page 46 in your council book?
Yeah, the water authority's gone up 5% per year for the last 5 years.
In fact, you saw that in the expenses that Chuck was talking about, that our utilities, including our water, have gone up. So
That affects treatment.
our water goes up, but we can't increase our prices to compensate for it. So
we ourselves are paying more for water for the operation.
Correct.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
yeah,
It's not just us at our tap at
May-
home.
Maybe I can ask Basil. Basil, what is the monthly water bill at the treatment authority? $100,000 a month in water fees at the wastewater treatment plant.
so yeah, if you wanted to look at page 45, or if you just want to look up at the screens, or page 45 in your council book, this just shows the difference monetarily if we would have increased our rates by the same amount as the water authority did over the last 18 years.
And to go back about the water use at the wastewater treatment plant, a lot of the water that we use down there is non-potable, meaning that it's water that's generated in the plant. You can't drink it, it hasn't been disinfected or treated, but that's used for all the cleaning. So we're very conscientious about the utility costs down there. Currently in contract negotiations with the Teamsters, and we think that we have an opportunity to change the schedule of the swing shift operators and maybe cut overtime down by 25% next year. And I think it's currently budgeted at $500,000.
If you go to page 44 and I believe 46 in your council book, you'll see our sewer and refuse rates as compared to other communities. So our average rate per unit per household is $85.96 a quarter. And if you look at Green Township, Gerard Borough, Fairview Township, Harbor Creek, Wesleyville, Summit, Mill Creek is just below us, but all the others are above us. Mill,
Mill Creek, because I know they just went up.
did they just go up?
50%.
Oh, I don't. Siraji?
This past August.
That's what their price projected, they don't have that out, this is what they.
Oh, they haven't published that
This is
yet?
what they currently have, we're asking for the 85 increase.
Yeah. So, and then if you go to, is it 86 with the refuse rates? 46. Sorry. Okay, so we need to look at the top row. Okay, 6809. That's what we're proposing. And Girard, Northeast, and Fairview are all higher than that, and Mill Creek's higher than that.
And we're poorer than that.
Yeah?
The city's poorer, period. You can't compare it. That's apples and oranges.
Well, the amount of garbage is similar per home, and the amount of work it takes to collect it and all that. I mean, the cost to run the operation is similar. So, and as far as the refuse rates, we're proposing a 4% increase, which is $2.84 per quarter. And we've proposed 3 or 4% for the next 5 years. And built into that budget is some capital, so that we can buy some trucks out of that budget. And it's just a small increase, $10 to $15 a year increase.
Are any of the trucks that you're looking at, some of those ones that have like the arm on it or anything to make it more efficient with staffing?
We have looked at that option. In some areas in the city, it might be feasible, but in the inner city, especially with the amount of cars on
Yeah,
the street,
narrow.
it's not feasible.
And one of the drawbacks or holdups on that type of truck collection style is that you have to purchase the cans, and the cans, just estimatingly,
Yeah.
the cost for cans for
Yeah, I
the
bought
entire
those,
city is $6 million. We've run those numbers to see what that would cost, and it's $6 million, and that's a real number on what it would cost to get tipper cans across the board for every resident in the collection program. I think it's also important to mention that in the Bureau of Refuse budget, the operating transfer out for the general fund has been eliminated, so there is no longer an operating transfer into the general fund. And I know that's a point that we discussed last year when we brought up rates, and I think that's worth mentioning and noting that.
So we can't be using this as a way to
Correct,
bolster the budget in a
Right.
way that
right.
kind of actually disguised what I think was really happening with the city budget by making those transfers. Am I saying that correctly?
You were talking about the schedule stuff. I forgot to follow up with you in like, I don't know, 9 months ago that I brought it to you, but did you guys look at the street cleaning with the garbage routes at all?
I'd have to revisit.
Yeah, all right. Just curious.
I think some of them do come the day after the garbage in certain areas.
Yeah,
But obviously some of them still come before.
yeah. Sorry, it's not budget related.
Any questions from Mr. Ronzetti?
Any questions? Did you say for
Mr.
For anybody?
Ronzetti? Anyone
For
else?
Basil, any questions for Basil from wastewater treatment? I know that in the previous sessions, we've talked about field trips. We've only had one session so far, so if anybody needs a trip to the wastewater treatment plant, I know Chuck's been on it, I know, I went a few years ago, but, or any of your facilities that you think would be useful for people to,
We certainly
See.
would appreciate
So,
you attending our facilities.
are any of your facilities capable of doing like the fire department, large enough space or whatever to use the green technology or the
Solar panel?
solar panels?
I just had a conversation today with Regina from the DEP, and she mentioned that there might be a good opportunity for additional solar panels at the wastewater treatment plant based on the roof size down there.
Well, keep us informed, please.
and I know a few years ago, they redid the interior lighting, correct?
Right, we've gone through all
Right.
the public works buildings and replaced all the old lights to high-efficiency LED lights, and we've been using a rebate program through Penelec First Energy. So we get initial rebate, and then we get reduced utility bills.
I have a specific question about leaves in the street, which we talked about at caucus, and Renee mentioned it at the last city council meeting. I have a relatively new neighbor, and I saw her going out to dump her leaves in the street, and so I went over and said, you really aren't allowed to do that, but of course, the neighbors on either side are dumping their leaves in the street. And so I saw her the other day putting her leaves in a hard container, but she said, it's really hard because you see the plow kind of things come along and pick up the leaves, so you're thinking, why am I obeying this when other people are doing this? And I wondered, with the stormwater education aspect, are we going to really, her thing was, why are we even doing this sweeping or, the pickup when you aren't supposed to be putting your leaves in the street? She thought, just stop doing it. And I will tell you, those leaves on either side of the neighbor who was being the good neighbor and not doing it were piled so high that it totally eliminated off-street parking for the post office and for the people who relied on that. So, do you see what I mean? She's saying, well, it's kind of like, why shouldn't I do it? Because you're going to come and, not you, but the city's going to come and pick them up anyhow. So are we going to really try and do some education on that to say this isn't punitive, this is, first of all, it's against an ordinance and it doesn't help with stormwater, and you know what I mean? It's not a good thing to do, but how do we unwind something that's been, or pull back something that's taken as a given?
So technically, as a city official, you could give them a quality of life ticket.
Right, we haven't gone as far as giving out quality of life tickets, but it has been discussed.
But I'm just saying, as the way the ordinance is written, it's at any city official. So I was saying that Ms. Allen could technically
Citate her neighbors.
cite her neighbors.
I don't know.
That one neighbor already doesn't like me, I think I'll.
I think AJ his mother lives in, he was raking her leaves and he got frustrated. He just wanted to give all the neighbors quality life.
I restrained myself, however, though, but it is, I can see it is frustrating. But unfortunately, once the leaves are there, like you said, for all those reasons, flooding, hazards for parking, people, children playing in them, we have no choice but to respond and
maybe we
clean
can
the
think
leaves.
ahead to next year before they start. I mean, who knows when the leaves are going to, with climate change, they keep falling later and later, but maybe we can really make an effort to get out ahead of it. And I would suggest also the Board of Realtors would be a good place to remind the people selling houses, because I had this big disagreement with the former publisher of the newspaper who insisted that she was told when she bought her house that she was supposed to rake her leaves into the street. So she lives in South Dakota now. But
every once in a while we get lucky and we get an early snowfall, and all those leaves that people rake out in the street end up in their driveway, and they have no choice but to bag them or put them in cans because they can't go through the snow blower. So Mother Nature sometimes are the best ally with that.
So how do we pick up these leaves? Question. And two, is there a system of vacuum cleaning up leaves that can be monetized? So.
That's
So you can use
interesting.
leaf as compost.
I think there's an opportunity to monetize our compost site better. So maybe, charge landscapers a $15 or $25 license fee, and then charge them based on how many times they come down and utilize the facility, because we certainly have the ability to manage that material and turn it into compost. So there's an opportunity there. I don't know about the leaves per se. Unless landscapers could dump
I
in
know
there.
certain places have HOAs that are heavily treed, and I hear that we send our equipment out, whatever it is, into those particular areas to clean it up. I haven't substantiated on my own, but that's what I heard, so I'll use that disclaimer. If you're doing it or not, but definitely an HOA or something could pay a fee for that service.
Yeah.
We really try to crack down on the landscapers who are getting paid by, crack down when I say, we always stop and tell the landscapers, you're getting paid to pick these leaves up for this individual, they're paying you well.
Pick them up.
And,
don't blow them in the street.
don't blow them in the street.
And I know it's not leaf related, but snow plowing, we've issued quality of life ticketing for similar, where private plowers have plowed snow back into the street. We've issued quality of life ticketing there, so we are, proactive and
You know, it's kind of confusing. You're telling people to bag the leaves, and then Giant Eagle and places like this are getting rid of plastic bags, period. What do we do with the plastic bags? We'd hire some people to take the leaves out of the bags?
they're the biodegradable bags
Yeah,
that
we
we
used to
would
take
allow.
regular plastic
Right.
bags, but now all we take are the biodegradable.
So you can tell by a,
Yes, you
They're
can
clear.
you can tell, you can
There's some
feel.
kind of STM number on them,
Yep,
hard containers, or we actually take paper, leaf and leave
Yeah,
them on.
paper.
it's biodegradable.
But no, we used to take them in plastic.
Right.
We would have an army of people down there in the fall cutting the bags.
Cutting them.
Just a couple years ago, we got rid of the last few bags that were at
Oh.
compost.
For the non-biodegradable garbage bags, I know people just put them in anything, black trash bags, clear bags. What happens? They go to the landfill? Is that what happens to those leaves?
Yeah, we don't collect
Okay,
them.
I just want,
Speaking of quality of life ticketing, just so everyone here knows, we're gonna be very aggressive this year on, odd even parking
Yes.
and violators over the winter season. Last year, we had some issues with the parking authority and getting some assistance in enforcement. So we will be towing, we will be issuing quality of life tickets and parking tickets. Because residents need an incentive to get out there once in a while, move their cars.
Move their cars, yeah.
So tell them to pay it in 30 days.
I had a couple of other just really quick questions. One is sort of an overarching question. Since the bond money is going to be gone for paving, I mean, is that like something that keeps you up at night, the fact that we don't have the,
Generally, this year we spent $2.4 million in bond on road paving. We will not have that $2.4 million next year.
okay,
It's too early to develop the paving plan because we have to close out 2022 and see how much money rolls back into our liquid fuels account.
okay,
But we're gonna be limited to using liquid fuels funding, which 50% already goes towards streetlights. CDBG money, which is earmarked for certain neighborhoods, and federal aid routes, money that's issued by the state.
okay. And then, in terms of revenue, I think you'll remember, I don't know if Lisa would have been here, but a few years ago, we talked about, could we or should we be charging like a rental rate for like the pavilions at Glenwood Park? Because, we have people, this is kind of like Michael says, his hearsay, my hearsay is, people camp out there at like 4 o'clock in the morning to get a pavilion. And I think there was actually discussion with Scott Mitchell about maybe handling that. So is that something we look at in terms of revenue? Like at Scott Park, you have to pay, I think 200, I forget what it is. In Mill Creek, you pay to reserve a pavilion at Zook Park or Scott Park. Is that anything on your horizon, or is that just something we should get to at some point? And when we look at the overall park plan, I don't know, I guess
Yeah, the
I'm,
biggest thing is the enforcement.
okay,
So
okay,
I rent a pavilion from 12 to 4, and I'm having a graduation party at 4 o'clock. I'm supposed to be out,
okay,
and then, somebody comes, say, you gotta get out of here. Well, I still have half a keg of beer, I still have 50 family members here from out of town. The enforcement would be a
Good job.
challenge.
Right.
okay,
Because they tried to drink the beer.
okay.
they would cheer.
Going from drinking beer to thinking about safety, I don't know that everybody knows that there will be a traffic light is going to be installed on Cranberry and the Bayfront Parkway, right? You got the okay for that, but I can't remember when you said that would happen?
It has to be installed by the end of 2024.
Okay,
That's currently in design phase.
okay. And then kind of just to the event fees, do you remember we had a lot of pushback when we did raise the fees for vendors? Do you remember that? The barbecue people aren't going to come back and nobody's going to come back, but it sounds like that didn't, I mean, then we probably had COVID, I don't know for sure, but it sounds like with those revenues going up, that has not been a hurdle to people.
No, we've been inundated with events, special events throughout the summer. This was our busiest summer we've had in record of events and weekly events. There's weeks we had 12 to 15 events, bandwagon rented out all summer.
And then one bike lane, I mean, there was going to be a meeting, remember the designers of the bike lanes were going to have a meeting a few weeks ago, but do you know what
WRA.
Yeah.
Doing the Bike Erie plan
Mm-hmm.
for Green Garden. I do not know when that meeting is rescheduled for.
Okay, and Groundworks USA, that might be a Renee question. I don't know if that's related to, I know remember we were going to get, not me, but the Groundworks plan to hire, Groundworks Trust, I think, is there anything, I don't know if that affects Public Works or not.
They've been working on hiring an executive director, and I don't know if I'm allowed to publicly say
Okay,
where they're at currently with that, but
Okay.
there will be an announcement coming soon. Once that executive director is in place, things will be starting to move forward
Okay.
pretty quickly.
and then I wanted to go back to something that I know Chuck was aware of, because I think you were at the Erie Reuse Fest before I got there, and you talked to the person from the PA Resource Council. So, what month does that take place in? That was just a couple months ago, right?
Yes.
And I know they said they're hoping to expand their efforts in Erie, because
This thing
Pittsburgh
in
gets,
Hammond?
yeah.
Okay, sorry,
But
it took me a second. Yeah.
anyhow, it's a really good event. We should make sure it's on our radar for communication or whatever, so that you can get stuff that you don't need the big item pickup, you don't need to put it in the garbage, but it can really be used for a bunch of different agencies. They take everything, and I know when I went that day, the guy said, oh yeah, I talked to Chuck, so we'll keep our eye on that to make sure we publicize it well, because people want to be able to reduce, reuse before you even get to the recycling thing.
I was curious because we have a citizen who comes and makes statements about the fact that development and anybody who's building in the city kind of takes up pedestrian sidewalk and pedestrian street access. So is there any ability to have, those areas leased for use
Yes,
versus?
there will be an ordinance coming before City Council before the end of the year that addresses that issue.
Thank you.
Dumpsters in the right of way, scheduled lane closures, construction, all that.
Oh, nice.
So it should
Thank
be
you.
coming before the end of the year.
So I don't want to say the squeaky wheel, but citizen or resident involvement helps. Thank you. I mean, and I know there was something else when you're speaking, we talked about the person who came and asked about his street, and you checked that out, so,
Mike showed pictures.
yeah.
Yeah, we were able to resurface that with some funding that became available, some reprogramming money from CDBG. I think it was the very last street that we paved this year.
Nice.
Okay. Lisa, is there anything else that we need to know? Oh, were you able to, can you update council on what our next meeting will be for next budget session? And also, but wait a minute, let's go back one step, because there is going to be actually a committee meeting before the study session. So let's let the public know what's coming up next week. Oh, did you have another question?
No, I was just reminding him about the committee meeting.
Oh.
You're on.
It's Thursday at 4:30. The Economic Development Committee has a committee meeting at 4:30, where we're going to be reviewing the possibility of a vacancy and foreclosure registration. And then from there, we'll go straight into talking to zoning and planning, because they're all going to be there already. So they're the ones that are sort of working on the vacancy registration for economic development.
Okay. And then I'm sorry, Ed?
Just think, we're hiring an engineer with that stormwater money, which you said we weren't gonna do.
Sorry?
There's 2 employees. There'll be an engineer and a field inspector getting paid out of that fund.
Is he from the University of Stormwater, or?
No, he's actually currently employed by the city of Erie.
So it's not a new position?
No, he's currently getting paid out of the wastewater treatment budget, so he'll get moved into the stormwater fund, and he'll be overseeing the stormwater.
Yeah, we were told that was gonna be money to take care of stormwater, not to hire people.
And we're gonna be very transparent with that.
I know that, Chuck.
No, from the
Just my
very beginning, we
clarification.
said there were gonna be 2 staff people that worked on stormwater. That's been in the budget since the very beginning.
Very transparent, my dear.
Anyhow, Lisa, so what are we
Well,
doing?
I was
next
going to
week?
say, that's why we set up a new fund to track that with. You can see exactly what's spent and what's collected. So, The next meeting on the 15th, we're going over the treasurer's office, the controller's office, the capital budget, 5-year capital budget, and I haven't had a chance to contact you about this, but I was going to see if you wanted to do the clerks and council budgets that night. And if not, I can put those in with the finance, payroll.
Is that okay with everybody? We switched some things around because we're going to devote some additional time to looking at the planning office, which will now be later in November. But we switched topics, so just so you know.
That'll be the calendar that was sent out earlier. We switched the 15th and the 29th.
And we will be putting the adoption of the preliminary budget on our council agenda for next week. So, because we have to have it adopted for public view, keep in mind that we still then need to do the second reading and make, and any changes then would be in the second reading. So, but we want to get that approved. It doesn't mean you're signing off on, whatever.
Traditionally, that's what we've done every year. We put it through in the second council. The ordinance has to be read twice. First readings in November, and that gives us 2 council meetings to adopt. And the changes go into the last one.
And one other note, we had a conversation with Lisa about adding a new fuel 4034 component on all our revenue accounts, proprietary accounts. That way it's more transparent when we talk about fuel costs and how they affect the operation. Right now they're commingled in 4033 operating expenses. Very difficult to see what impact that has on the fund.
And that'll mostly impact the refuse.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But it'd be nice to be able to break that out
Mm-hmm.
so we can see how it impacts it.
Any other questions or comments, concerns? Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
see you on Tuesday.
See you on Tuesday.